As we try to explore a part of history or social processing of place, especially modern history, we could not ignore the war, like World War II. Like we know, the United States and China both experienced World War II, which were islands to defense and battle with fossil. Therefore, when I first time to touch the history of La Jolla, I was interested in what was focused on by native during World War II and what was the difference between the US and China. When I opened the transcript of the newspaper La Jolla Journal to read to the page of World War II, I realized that most of notable content were World War II and the majority of subjects were civil defense. After the attack on Pearl Harbor, 1941, the United States were involved in World War II. From the newspaper on March 26, 1942, a huge title and cartoon of the U.S. saving bond and steps reminded people the U.S. have to join the battle with all anti-fascist countries. On the other hand, the government encouraged natives who were appropriate age join into army from civil defense. According to the newspaper, men in La Jolla who were between 20 to 44 years old must register for selective service in army. Okay, so um, do you remember how you registered to the army?
Well, this is the Navy, but yes, I was in college in San Jose State.
Okay.
And it was during the Vietnam War.
Yes.
And so I was going to go into the Navy as a pilot.
Okay.
And so I went down and did some time during the summers when I was not at school. But after I finished in 1968 at San Jose State, then I went in and started flying. I was flying within 2 months.
Okay.
And I flew for about 10 years in the Navy.
Okay.
That great big plane down there, that last one there, you see
Yes,
it? That
yes,
big one.
yes.
That's the one I flew.
Okay.
And my name's on the side of it. And so I flew that for a long time. And then I went on to other things in the Navy, but my flying days were always the most fun.
Okay, so how do you think that plane? When you drive that?
Yes, it was difficult to fly because in those days the jet engines weren't as powerful as they are now. So you give it some energy, and then whoa, it's slow to respond. Nowadays the engines are much better and much more responsive, but in those days, and because it was so big, it was a very difficult plane to bring aboard a ship.
Okay, so when you first time to get to think about try to register to the Navy, so that's what you think, or your family led you to get a...
They wanted me to finish school at university, and so I was looking for a program that would allow me to do that.
Okay.
And the Navy had this program that was a flight program, pilot program, and so I joined that program when I was a sophomore.
Okay.
When I was a sophomore at San Jose, and then between sophomore and junior year, I went down to Pensacola, Florida, and did 6 weeks down there. Between junior and senior year, another 6 weeks. And then after I graduated in 1968, then I went into the Navy active duty and started flying.
Okay, so that's totally 10 years when you in the Navy.
I was in for 20 years.
Oh, 20 years.
20 years. I started in 68 and I retired in 1988.
1980. Oh, cool. As Allen's, there were some Chinese air students trained in U.S. Navy to track Japan. Some Chinese cadets were trained 35 weeks American course in the instruction in military drill, which could help Chinese Air Force to defend Japan in Far East. From the newspaper, I realized that the people in La Jolla did pay close attention to the war. The content that were related to war were in front page of newspaper in every day, which exhibit the progress of World War II and publicized the president striving for civil defense.